as well. Like, I mean, I think he's really a unique, fascinating director. And his mystique is only just growing on me more over the years. I think he really is just one of the greatest Italian directors of all time. So, yeah, we'll jump into his classics. There's still some big ones I still need to see, but to cover his classics, Strada came out in the year 1954. It's just like exactly the kind of melancholic film I just absolutely fall in love with. Where you just kind of have this sort of innocent, naive, kind of chirpy woman who just kind of gets in over her head with these situations, or she just gets manipulated in very subtle ways, which adds up to something of a tragedy and a downfall. And I think those are some of the greatest films. And Fellini just nailed it up. Masterpiece. It's just a silent eccentric. She doesn't talk a lot. She's very quiet, but she just is easily overwhelmed by dominance, energy around her. And there's a lot of people who, just like whenever she's around, it's like there's something odd about her energy. So it just kind of brings something strange upon others to a point where, it just brings all kinds of unnecessary melodrama in her life, and it just kind of does bring her spirit to a tragic downfall in the end. You feel sympathy for her the entire way through. I think that's what's so brilliant about the story. It's always sympathetic, it's always real, and you're just presented with these complex situations that kind of bring out a real misfit, but it also brings out just something really sweet and innocent the entire way through. And I think that the amount of films that Fellini has made is just overwhelming, honestly. This is a film that I really can't wait to rewatch, because I think it only gets better with age and time. The more I think about it and ponder it, it's just a beautiful film, a beautiful performance all around. Then in 1957, he made Night of the Cabiria. This is one of the greatest films I've ever seen. He really just struck a remarkable tone the entire way through that felt very consistent and real, to an extent that it felt mesmerizing. Yeah, I really walk out of this film just feeling completely cleansed and just understood in a very unique kind of way, because that downfall is just very subtle, and there's something very brutal living in this film, because it's really like unfair situations happening to a good person. And there's just kind of this expression going on in this. It's just like the depth of a character like this can really bring out her sweetness of just like getting in these tragic, crushing situations, because it shows how she can literally move on. It's like, I think that this is maybe the top 10 greatest endings ever I've ever seen in my life. I won't say any more in case you haven't seen it, but it's just genius the way everything builds up to that moment, and it makes everything worth it. It reminds me a lot of listening to John Coltrane's "Love Supreme" and hearing the final 2 minutes where it's just like a cleanse happening. You literally just feel like this, just grounded ascension is happening, and it's just beautiful. And this film equally matches that tone, I feel like. It's just an endless amount of violence going on here. Just the way that Fellini can grasp silence with his visual style, and just kind of captures the black and white tone in this particularly, makes this film just a real powerhouse. Like, I just watched this completely mesmerized by just the way that it feels the entire way through. It's just like nothing else. In 1960, he made La Dolce Vita, The Good Life. So this is a 3-hour sitting, like a self-made hell. This reminds me a lot of the spirit of a film like Taxi Driver, where a man's just kind of like brings hell upon himself by his just misguided good desire to have do something good, in his life, to give himself a purpose to live. But he goes the wrong kind of, say in a lot of ways, it's very low places. So it's just, this is kind of a film that really shows that out of it, man. It's very disturbing. So there's like a lot of components going on in this film. I mean, I believe I had heard that Fellini was out to capture the layers and depths of hell in this film, and literally how a man is led to a spiritual downfall, and by ways of fame, society, just kind of chasing, sort of living a worldly pleasure without any sort of, real sympathy for other people. And it gets kind of bad. So, it's just, he's a good photographer, so he's like a really fascinating character for that. But all that just really leads to an intense burnout. I mean, everyone's just awful to each other. Like, he's so awful to people. Like, the way he treats women in this film is just so disturbingly dark to me that, and honestly, and I'll get more into it in one of his later films, but this right here is kind of why I don't get too close to women, because I grew up an only child, so I just have always looked at my own mind as opposed to getting too close to others in the first place. So I think my natural attachment kind of makes me want to hold off for someone who can really meet that in a certain way. So I'm always just kind of going to be open to that sort of thing. I'm not going to attach it. But back in the film. It's so finish. I mean, it's just really fascinating watching this man. He's really interesting, and you like him. There's like a certain charisma about him that's just really nice, but ultimately he's a scumbag in the end. So you just kind of start to feel all this shock as you watch it. And I think the way that Fellini captures it is truly haunting because it feels so real. Like I said, I think that's why I used to not like it. Because I think I just wasn't really capable of recognizing the demon with it. The demon I'll never speak, but I can see, I just can say. That's why I don't want to get too close to a lot, because it's like I see it, but you don't want to talk about it. I'd rather kind of just keep the good. I meditate to the dark. So it's better that way. But yeah, it's just like the visual style in this film and the way the set is just put together in this is just so amazing too. The opening scene is just like the statues just hovering around, just like your God's angels to heaven before just coming down to the, just the ugliness that unfolds with it. It's just, he gets into all these situations with different women, miscellaneous women, people. And yeah, he just really starts to go for that Jordan Belfort-esque, just chasing the worldly pleasures and just completely becoming a buffoon over that. Hell kind of comes upon him over that. So, it's just a wonderful film. I mean, it's 3 hours long and it feels like it's 2. I like this better than Wolf of Wall Street. Now, I think Wolf of Wall Street kind of helped me appreciate a film like this with its raw energy, but this just captures what that raw energy is without having to actually kind of be too deep into what that worldly pleasure feels like. I'd rather kind of focus on the dark side of that worldly pleasure rather than living the good of it all the time. I love Wolf of Wall Street. It's a great film, but yeah, this I think captures that even better. So Fellini in general was out to capture this very similar spark of Wolf of Wall Street, a very capturing a circus basically. And yeah, it's just like I said, as the story progresses, it's just the photographer is just going further and further into a downfall. And yeah, it's just he starts shooting people off. He's so rotten and mean. I mean, these are just some of the best performances ever. I think that he's just perfect. I think he's an empty-hearted scumbag, and it's good to kind of watch a film like this because you can easily recognize those kind of subtle ticks in other people where it's at first you meet him and it's hey, yeah. But, after a while you get too close and it's jeez, no, I don't feel it. But you have to empathize with it in the end too, in a way, because you have to kind of see that, I could do that too in a situation given the desire for that worldly pleasure, in the end, if you get let in too deep, it can make you go crazy in a weird way. That's what I think. So Fellini sort of forces you to emphasize just all these dangerous words of dialogue. The dialogue is genius in this film, and it's just so crazy. The visual style is the best ever. Set design is perfect, and it's a mind-bending film from start to finish. So I think that this is maybe the best takedown on the glamorous lifestyle I've ever seen. It really is just taking down everything beautiful and just putting it completely into rags. So it's beautiful. 1963, he made 8.5. This is just it's just a rabbit hole of self-indulgence, man. It's just, and this is why I didn't like it when I was younger, because I think that it took a certain honesty without pretentiousness with it. I think that if you're an artist that wants to do something with what you feel like you see and can recognize, you have to kind of build yourself in a certain way, but that can also kind of lead to an asshole quality. And this is the film out to explore all of that. The self-indulgence that comes with being, you're a genius, basically. Everyone loves and respects you, kind of thing. But you don't have what you're unfulfilled in a certain way. There's not a fulfillment that you're needing, and I think it took a certain will and honesty for me to fully meet that, to fully recognize the masterpiece. It's all about. Yeah, it's like an artist. He's really facing the worst kind of midlife crisis you can imagine. It reminds me a lot of what, I imagine some of the Barton Fink is facing in that film. But yeah, it's just so visceral. It's very frightening the way that this just makes sense more with age. Honestly, this movie kind of scares me. I think a lot of movies freaks me out. He really is one of the most mystically freaky directors ever, and the way he just gets that deep into the subconscious. Like I said, he was ahead of my time. And it still is ahead of my time, so it's crazy. What do you do when you can't handle that level of stress anymore? My gosh, that's you have to use your imagination, to kind of get away from feeling that way. But when you get too far away, there is something rotten living in there. And I think every artist knows this feeling in their own vision. But there's a vision there of hell that's just so rotten and awful that it can easily dominate your vision of good and, care. And you just kind of want to live in a sense of just that self-defeat nihilism kind of thing. You don't want to say it, but you kind of want to just feel it out for a little while. So it's just this is a film I think that's really trying to ask what are the limits of retreating so far into your own mind to a point where you're just very spiritually unsettled. I think this is out to capture spiritual unfulfillment, what that feels like, and I think that that's what needed to be met really to understand the masterpiece. Knowing that spiritual defeat kind of just feels a certain way, and I think by the progression of the character, I think it feels a way of feeling like you're a king, but you are also knowing that you're kind of a shitbag, too, in a way. So it's like, how do you hold yourself? What do you say when you feel that way at a certain point in your life? A shitbag maybe because you didn't really get to meet something with it, in a lot of ways. But this is just, it's also kind of funny too. I think this is also about to laugh at this ego with it. This is just a lot about balance of light and dark too. There's a lot of light moments. I was kind of making it too completely dark, but really it's just about light and dark. I think I've just got to say more fascinated by the dark right now because that's what's fresh. I think the light of it is just a director who finds his answers along the way and doesn't ultimately harm anything or anybody too badly. He just kind of ends up seeming a bit nihilistic and cold-hearted, but he actually ends up good-hearted, well-meaning artist in a lot of ways too. But there's an ego there, and there's a fine line of behavior. You may or may not want to display in the midst of all that. 1965. This is my favorite Fellini film. This is very much close in time with Dolce Vita, but it's an extremely personal one. It's called Juliet Of The Spirits. Golly, it's like this is when Fellini was just really getting into like 60s psychedelia, and I think that he actually made the greatest film representing kind of everything that was about to happen before it even happened, before rock and roll fully took off and all that explosion stuff happened. I think Fellini already had the film there. The reason I say it's so personal is because literally the one girl I ever dated, her name is literally Juliet, and it happened to be very much like this film. Her mother, I think, was like a gypsy hanging out with like all these, musician hippies. So I think I just kind of learned a lot of interesting kind of insight from my own way, even though, it didn't work out. She was really mean, bad to me. I think this is just the most resonating film as far as capturing a director who's just more in his element whenever he has a colorized tone. Like, I think that his films have always been black and white, but when he's in color, I think he has an eye of beauty that has never been just more straightforward and just raw. So it's just really the best maybe one of the best purely psychedelic films I've ever seen. A lot of that stuff can be too excessive, and I think by dark, what I don't like about all that is just it gets too just kind of draining in a way that just doesn't really feel spiritually fulfilling. It just kind of feels like, okay, we went somewhere, but that didn't really feel good. It's like it didn't really land a certain way. So I think that Fellini was kind of out there trying to question that notion in a lot of ways. And how can that, I guess, like psychedelia energy kind of be translated more through the visuals? I think directors were out for colors, and I think that I think I realize now that directors kind of did that psychedelic stuff better than the musicians. They really, in the end, I think that's what's really interesting. A lot of these foreign directors in the 60s, particularly. But this is just a film, best screenplays I've ever heard in my life. I really am about to I can't wait to rewatch this one. I think I could really use this one. So it's just the screenplay. It just really kind of just captures this Juliet character and kind of just the aimlessness in a lot of ways. Like there's just a lot of like haze going on of just like going around all these beautiful landscapes, talking to people, but there's just no end direction with any of that. Like it's just, you can tell she's in her own psychological hell, but there's something very interesting about that hell somehow because she's kind of looking at everything in such a clean paradise. But I think what's great about, again, the film side of psychedelia is that it doesn't get overbearing. I think film allows that energy to be more it's completely subtle, while music is just kind of like a blah. It's just loud and screaming in your face too much. So I'd rather just the film communicate that kind of crazy energy in a subtle kind of way. I don't really feel like screaming. I just kind of want to, embrace it, a little more and take it in. It's almost like a metaphorical you could say to like going to Los Angeles. It's just like I feel like living there. I've only been a few times, and I would be certainly interested to visit it again. But I've always kind of had this feeling that it could be like there's a lot of hell going on around, but it's like if you kind of go out to the other places of California, you're probably like kind of looking at all that mesquite and wonder, and it becomes like a heaven in a way too. So it's like that balance is so interesting, and it's just endless charm about this film. It runs on like a dream logic. That reminds me a lot of Robert Altman's Three Women, and it just it's just so powerful because this is just kind of what makes, I guess, a person kind of leave a spiritual mark on other people. It can be for the worst, but it kind of just ends up being something of a mark. And I think that this just was a film that will always live in my heart because of that, kind of having that personal experience coming right beforehand. A film that equally captured this film is Licorice Pizza, which, yeah, very extremely similar reason, but actually progressed those feelings forward in the best way possible. So it's like, this is a perfect film. Yeah, and of course, with all that, I'm really kind of just glad a film like this just even exists, honestly. It's truly perfect. It really did kind of help me come to an understanding and meet something completely new within myself before as a filmmaker and musician. So it's a beautiful film. Licorice Pizza kind of captures also, I think what this film also kind of does is over-attachment. That's also a really bad kind of dark thing that can live in a person who's completely psychologically tormented. But they just kind of feel like they kind of live forever on momentary clinging to over other people. And that is kind of a hell to be in, but you don't want to say it like that. But yeah, I kind of have to see in time that sort of being under the burden of, just, yeah, like people who are, like, yeah, feeling over-attached to someone you don't really get to be around, kind of all the time, or just gives you that kind of too much of that rotten distance because they just can't lend themselves to it. I think I'm just kind of like one of those people. I think the way something about my relationship life, and the way I've looked at women has evolved. Like, I've always just kind of had a beautiful outlook. I've never wanted to get too close, truly, because I think I kind of like to see things in terms of angels and demons about 24/7. So I don't want to get too close. I feel like an angel naturally has something of a spiritual possession to them. I don't want to get too close to that, literally. So I'm still a virgin. I've never had sex. I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah, and Juliet kind of brought me close to it, but yeah, tormented me by not taking me all the way. So Licorice Pizza was kind of out to capture the madness in that, and that really resonated in a certain way, which is, yeah, I'm not saying it's a great thing, but it's just sort of what happened in the end. Yeah, I just have to follow that so I can build into something better. Just the passion and love for film, and just to really hope that it lives for something that's beautiful, and I strive for something that could be intelligent and live for, a foundation that other people can understand. So this film helped me come to an understanding towards seeing a lot of these things, because I think a man's spiritual relationship with a woman certainly is important. I think a man certainly will behave differently when you're around a woman. Different energy will come out. So it's like you kind of have to know what you're going to be like when those moments happen. Like, there's just something very colorful about a man that a man generally often will not exposed to other men. And I think that I'm the kind of guy that wants to live in that side as it is. And I think, to a woman's mind, it just can seem like I'm a crazy guy. I promise, I'm really innocent and all that. I'm still a virgin. I don't really have a lot of sexual curiosity. I lean all of that kind of energy towards my passion for film and music, literally. So it's like this film just kind of meets that in so many ways. So, yeah, this is time with Licorice Pizza in a lot of ways for me. It's just hitting me in that kind of important way. It's a beautiful film. Then we get to 1973, Amarcord. I've only seen this once, and I'm going to tell you, I think this is going to grow on me big time on our rewatch, because I was too young to appreciate the value of this film, literally, and I recognize that now. I remember I was very sleepy and hazy, and I think this kind of captures what impersonal nostalgia is like, and I think it took me about 10 years to kind of understand what that picture looks like. Impersonal nostalgia to me is a feeling of yearning for something you can't have. And again, that's where I take that angel demon view. Like, angels, because a beautiful presence can be there, but that beautiful presence can't last forever. I literally believe that leads to advanced madness. I think through film and art, I've been able to see that in myself as I've evolved. Now I just want to say it right. Never ever going to take any bad energy on anybody. I strive to never ever. So I like to look at demons because that's how I spiritually evolve. So I need to. It's important to me. Spiritually evolve because I think the director is spiritually evolving. So I'm just trying to find what I'm trying to say here. It's like I'm crazy, but I also have to do something in the end. I've got I'm going on too much. But that's kind of the thing. Fellini films kind of get me that kind of way. It's just so mystical and unique. I love his stuff. He's one of the best directors of all time. I highly recommend getting into his stuff if you haven't seen it before. I know there's more there I need to explore, but I just had to give you what I got with those. So, yeah.